Hi everybody, welcome to tonight's Taubmans live colour advice session. My name is Fiona. I am the Taubmans colour specialist and we are here this evening to talk all things colour and certainly lots of other things as well. So if it is your first time joining us, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm going to let you know how our sessions roll. So for the first half an hour I will be on screen in front of the camera if you like, and we are here to answer all of your questions. Certainly if you've got anything that you'd like some information around colour, if you're embarking on a project and you'd like some information, or if you would like to know about our wonderful portfolio of products that we have available that are designed to protect and beautify your space, you've come to the right place. So as I said, tonight or every night, what we do is we look through our social media channels, our platforms, and we collate the most frequently asked questions because we really like to keep our sessions live and relevant, and our sessions are all about you, so we love to bring to life the questions that you're asking. So as I said, half an hour in front of the camera talking live. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to upload any questions that you do have into our feed, and also if you're wanting to share images with me, which I know a lot of you love to pop photos of the area that you're wanting some help with or advice with. If you can hold off until we finish streaming in front of the camera, I do sit back here for a further half an hour or so, and that is when you can pop the image into our feed then. Unfortunately, while we're streaming live, it's impossible to upload any images, so I am told. So that concludes our introduction, if you like. So I'm going to start this evening. I do have my first question, and it is from Megan. Thank you very much, Megan. And Megan, you're saying hello, so hi. I would love some thoughts on a warm colour palette that coordinates with Galleon. We've just painted our ensuite walls and ceiling and it looks amazing. I'm sure it does. But now I need something lighter, different, but still interesting and connected to paint the bedroom, and I am struggling. Okay, so you're saying that you'd love something warm. Now I do have the colour Galleon here. Galleon is a beautiful, rich, warmer brown, if you like, as well. So here we go. Here's Galleon. It's quite deep, but a stunning colour. So if you're looking for something to complement that, so keeping within that warm feel, but something lighter, look, there's a few ways you could go. And it depends on what you prefer. So you could keep it within that sort of neutral space. You could look at a colour which I'm about to hold up, which is next to Galleon, which is a colour called Cinnamon Donut. So where are we? Here's the colour here. So it sits and pairs back beautifully with Galleon. Now something like that's going to work really, really well. You can intensify it a little bit more if you want. Going for, could go down to the next one, which is Puppy Paws as well. That sits beautifully. Or you could go slightly pinker, if that's a word that I could say. So a tone that's sort of got that slight, it's got that pink undertone to it, but it still has, it's a colour, I guess you could say, that's kind of sitting between a pink and more of a beigey nude. So that would be the best way to describe it. So you've got sombrero tan. Let me just get these together. Make sure I'm giving you the right colour. Sorry. I think I need a new fan deck. This is looking extremely loved. Okay, so we have a colour here called sombrero tan, which looks fantastic. And another one that looks Spice Beige. Sits beautifully as well and would be a really calming colour to inject into a bedroom space. And Spice Beige is sitting here. And if you were to use something like that, because the new, when we define neutral now, we've got the new neutrals. And so you've got colours like I've just shown you, like the Spice Beige, colours that are sitting on the edge between being a pink and being a pink nude going into a beigey style tone. Then you've got caramel tones, and then you've got beautiful greens. They're all being defined as the new neutrals. So you could use something like Spice Beige on your walls, and then you could inject, if you're wanting to have an accent color. You could inject a green to work with that as well. So you're creating a beautiful cohesive palette, if you like. So you've still got all the warmth, but you're adding a little bit of green as well for a little bit more interest, if you like. Okay, and you could go, let me just see, if you're preferring something slightly, I still want to keep it warm, I don't want to take it cool, so I won't go, I was going to show you a beautiful pink, but that's probably going a little bit too, maybe a little bit too cool. So you can even do something like this, which works. There's another color here called Oriental Flower. So that's going into more of a tone it's got more orange. It's got more of an orangey undertone as opposed to the color that I showed you before, which has more of a pinky undertone. But something like that would work really, really well. And last but not least, you could look at injecting, where are we? Even going into tones, sort of mustardy, goldy tones, I think could work really, really well. Okay. I've just got to find that right sort of tone. Oh, see, that's beautiful as well. There's a colour called Sahara Plains. Here we go. And that sits beautiful against Galleon, the colour that you've used in your ensuite. So there's a few warmer, lighter tones that work extremely well that are going to help you to create that wonderful, cohesive colour palette that's warm and has interest. So Megan, if you'd like some more information, etc., pop something else into the feed. I'll be very, very happy to help you. Okay, so we've also been asked, there seems to be a lot of talk across our channels, if you like, around black and whites, and asking about, you know, I'm reading the question here, what are some white and black colors you can recommend? Look, we've got the most beautiful collection of whites, and for those that have watched previously, you know, one of my favorite whites is a color that's called crisp white, and that's, if you're looking and you're beginning your journey with color, and you're beginning a journey with white, because we know how hard whites can be. And it's really important to understand the undertone of your white, because when you put it into your space, some whites tend to have more of a blue undertone, so a cooler undertone. Some have a warmer undertone, so that's going into more of a creamy sort of undertone. And then you've got what can be defined as a neutral undertone. So a neutral undertone, if you look at it, it's almost got a slight green, sort of a greeny grey beige undertone. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you start to think of those colours, and that's the sort of undertone that a neutral, when we talk about neutral whites or neutral greys, they tend to have something like that. So crisp white sits within the realms of being quite a very, very soft sort of neutral colour, neutral white. And it works extremely well in all environments. So it handles a lot of sun, it handles areas that lack light, and makes the most wonderful, it creates a very soft glow, and for interior application, it's a spot on colour to use. So if you're beginning a white journey, have a look at crisp white. That is where I would begin. And then for black, black can vary, black's not just black. There's undertones in black as well. You'll see that some blacks have more of a blue undertone, some even have a greeny undertone, and some even have a purpley undertone. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And the way to determine the undertone in a black, if you're looking at blacks on the color wall, take all of the chips and pop them up against each other, and then you can start to see that undertone come to life. Whereas with whites, if you're looking and you're wanting to understand what the undertone is with your white, if you take a color chip that's called Brilliant White, so Brilliant White is our stock standard white. That's how our, when you go and take a can of, say, Endure off the shelf, that's how it starts. It starts as Brilliant White. And then from that, you know, you select a color and they pop the tints into the color to create your color. So if you grab yourself a Brilliant White color chip, and from that, then hold the color, hold the other white color chip that you're looking at up against it, you can see the undertone come to life. if you start putting all of your whites up against each other, it becomes quite confusing. So just one up against a brilliant white color chip, or if you, before you go into, say, Bunnings, grab yourself or take with you a piece of white computer paper, fold that in half, and that will aid as a really good backdrop when you're looking at the white chips. The other tip I thoroughly advise is when you're looking at colors for interior, look inside. And then when you're looking at colors for exterior purposes, view them outside, because they're really going to change when you take them outside. So a couple of great tips for you. So if you're starting a white journey, have a look at crisp white. And if you're starting and you're looking for black, I always say start with a color that we have, which is called Trendy, or another beautiful black that we have is a color called All Black. Really good starting point. I hope that helps. Okay, Tor, thank you very much for joining us. So you're wanting a color to offset Baltic pine. So is this for interior or walls? If it is, I would recommend, because there's a lot of warmth in Baltic pine and it tends to be quite golden, and the secret, or when you're looking at colors, when you've kind of narrowed down your color selection, and we'll reference whites here, get yourself a sample pot and brush and a large piece of cardboard. Now, so as I referenced Bunnings before, if you're going to Bunnings, talk to the friendly paint team members. All of our paint comes on pallets, and in between each layer of paint is what's called a pallet liner, which is a really large piece of cardboard. So if you can acquire one of those, cutting yourself a metre by a metre square, which is a fantastic size to be able to view the colour. Then putting 3 coats of your desired colour that we're sampling. So the first coat will aid as an undercoat, and then the other 2 are going to be, it's going to give you that film build so that it's going to give you adequate coverage, and then you can really see how the colour is going to work. So do that, and so you're putting each layer on, waiting for, put your first coat on, wait for it to dry, then your second coat, wait for that to dry, and then your third coat. Once dry, view it in a couple of areas. So we're going to, here's your wall, here's your floor, viewing it here so that you can see, and I'm referencing this because we're talking about Baltic pine. If you're putting it there, you can then see at different times of day, viewing it, how the colour is going to be influenced by its surround. So for example, Baltic pine being quite golden, has a lot of warmth to it, it can warm your wall colour up. The other thing to do is you've got your wall, you've got your ceiling here, testing your colour here again, depending on the other colours that surround, and also lighting is really going to affect your colour. So depending on whether you've got cool lighting, or you've got warm lighting or daylight lighting, etc., that colour is going to change. So viewing your colour in natural light, so with no lights on, and then obviously, throughout the day with sunshine, etc., and then of an evening under the artificial lighting, so you've got your lights on then, so you can see how that colour works. So for Baltic pine, so you've got a Baltic pine, thank you Tor, Baltic pine ceiling and staircase in order to lighten up the house. Okay, I would recommend probably going for something that's a little bit more neutral. So look, you could look at crisp white, being, as I've mentioned that before when I was talking about crisp white, a really, really good colour to begin with. Another colour that I would suggest that would pair back very nicely but still light up against Baltic pine is a colour that is called, let me hope I can find it here, Alpine Snow, which sits third colour down here. I would have a look at that as well. I think that's going to work really, really well with your Baltic pine. So Alpine Snow, and also another colour which I mentioned earlier. Here we go here. I'll put them together. You've got your Alpine Snow and then you've got your crisp white. And in this lighting, you probably really can't see the difference, but there is quite a bit of difference there. But as I mentioned before, it's critical to test your colour via a sample pot, and that way you can really see how it's going to work or play for you within your environment. I hope that helps. Okay, so thanks Toya, saying that your lighting natural is through LED light as it is an old renovated church. Okay, so then you'd be having your natural light coming through that. So the LED light, the colours in the LED light are also going to play with your wall color, etc., then I would probably taking that into consideration. I'm reading as I'm thinking and talking. I would start off with crisp white. I think that's going to be a really good starting point. I think it's going to serve you well and work really well within your space. So that's where I would begin your journey, if you like. I hope that helps. Okay, so next question is from Neri. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I apologize if I'm not. Thank you very much for joining us. So what color would you suggest for a warm modern boho style? Okay, I would recommend, if you're wanting a warm modern boho style, and I've talked about this color before, but I think it would work extremely well. Have a look at, so there's a couple of ways you could go. So you could have a look at Aria Ivory, which is the second one down. It is beautiful. That color pairs back. Look, I've talked about this color working extremely well for creating that modern Mediterranean aesthetic, for working inside, because it pairs back really beautifully with elements such as travertine, terrazzo, etc. But because of the tone and the color that it is, it would suit that boho style really, really well. And you can inject all of your other colors, whether you choose to use other colors with that, or, you know, by way of accessories, etc. It's going to create a beautiful warmth and be quite neutral enough so that you can do layering with all of your other tones. Another color that would work as well is, let me just find it here. You can find it any other time when I'm live. Sometimes I struggle. Here we go. There's a beautiful color here. This is probably, if you've been listening, I've talked about colors that, talking about colors being, you know, whether they're warm, whether they're cool, or whether they're more of a neutral. So this would probably sit within the realms of being slightly more neutral, but again, it's going to allow you to create that wonderful sort of modern boho style. And it's a color called South Pole. And here it is here. Fantastic. And, you know, you can pair that back with some beautiful warm elements, other warm tones, bringing in, as you know, soft gold mustardy tones, bringing in sort of, you know, your burnt sienna tones, clay tones, terracotta, even grayed off muted greens to create that whole look would look fantastic. So have a look at Aria Ivory, or also have a look at South Pole. I think either one of those is going to work really, really well. Hi Louie, thank you very much for joining us. So you're saying, hi Fiona, normally the ceiling paint color is matte white. I want my walls to be white too. What shade of white can you recommend so it won't look monotonous? Okay, so you can paint, look, colored ceilings are a thing at the moment and they look fantastic. So if you're looking for an area within your home where you're wanting to inject some color, you don't want to feel overwhelmed, you can color up your ceiling. It's very much trending that way, that look, color is very much on trend, if you like, and ceilings create that wonderful space. However, I understand having that beautiful white on white aesthetic, or that all over white feel, and you can create that really, really well. But the secret is ensuring that, as you said here, Louie, you know, that a matte white or a flat white for a ceiling, very, very true. So you're going to use a flat generally for your ceiling, and the reason that you do that is it stops any glancing light, and if you do have any imperfections, it's going to help to hide those. We don't want to bring imperfections to life on a ceiling. And then, you know, for your walls, you can choose to do you can do a matte, low sheen, etc. And then for your doors and trims, if you're doing white, you can do it in a low sheen, or you can do it in a semi-gloss and gloss. But it's important to use appropriate product for the appropriate area. However, for a white to create, I love white, the same color being used on the ceiling, walls, doors and trims. It's very non-jarring, because sometimes where you place color, it works really well if you've got a small space and you're wanting to open up that space and make the space feel larger, using that one color up and over throughout. Because what happens is, ordinarily, if you've got a colored wall, say, and then you've got your white ceiling, the eye stops where the colour meets the ceiling, if you like, or even if you've got a cornice where that colour meets the cornice, sort of looks around and goes, okay, this room looks, it's only small, etc. But if the colour continues sort of up the wall and continues going over the ceiling, the eye just continues. It keeps sort of moving and it creates that illusion of more space because there's no real stopping point, if you like. So a white for that. Oh, look, you could use any of the whites within our collection. They're all tintable into our like Taubmans ceiling white. Certainly for our walls, using something like Taubmans Endure. If you're wanting that matte feel, you can use a Taubmans Endure matte as well on the walls. So look, you could start at crisp white, beautiful soft white, very soft glow, very clean, as it says crisp. It's got that crispness about it. If you're wanting something that has a little bit more, you could, as I mentioned before, Alpine Snow looks fantastic up and over, as we're talking about. Or if you're wanting something that's got a little bit more warmth, there's a colour called Princess Bling, which is the second, oh, actually it's the first one here. It's a beautiful soft white that has just that a little bit more element of warmth. So for your whites, have a look at this colour card called Whites and Neutrals. You can grab that. You can grab it from Bunnings, your local hardware store that stocks Taubmans, etc. And the fantastic thing here is it's got a wonderful collection of whites and neutrals. It starts off, let me just make sure I've got this right. It starts off here with our cooler tones, working into more of a neutral space and then going into warmer tones. And you've got that gradation bar at the top, which helps to guide you. So this would be a great tool to help you when you're beginning that white journey. You'll find here, as I've mentioned, a couple of the colours tonight. You've got your Princess Bling here. Over here we have our crisp white. And then we also have, there's Aspen Snow here. And let me just tell you as well, there is another fantastic white. You could even look at a colour like this. Depends on, obviously, when we talk whites, need to take into consideration the other elements that are existing in your space. So it's not only looking at the wall colour, ceiling colour, etc. It's what you have on your flooring. So, what if you've got tiles, wooden floors, and also, the introduction of carpet, even things as well. I look at things like window frames to ensure that the white that's sitting up against the colour of your window frame is going to be tonally correct and really flow really well. Also too, things like, what type of, what colour, for example, lounge suite or couch, etc. do you have in your lounge room? That plays a big part in the lounge room, and that can help influence colour selections as well. So it's taking that whole, if you like, the whole big picture into consideration when selecting your white. But there's a couple of good whites there to start off with. Yeah, there's Alpine Snow there as well. And the other one as well, another beautiful white is White House. That's a fantastic white, a lovely neutral style white. Again, that's going to pair back really well with pretty much majority of elements. So I hope that helps. Grab yourself one of those. Be very happy to answer, I can't get my words out. Answer any further questions, pop something else into the feed, and I'll be very happy to help you further. Thank you. Hi Farah, thank you very much for joining us this evening. So your question is, what exterior and roof colour would suit well with crisp white interior walls? You could pretty much use, so many colours for external purposes are going to then work really, really well with using crisp white for your interior. I guess when you're looking at exterior, what I tend to do is when I'm thinking about creating an exterior colour palette, it's looking at the environment and your surrounds, working out, for example, if the house is coastal, it's selecting a fantastic coastal colour scheme that's going to ensure that the house sits really, really well within the environment. If you're more sort of rural, it's again taking into consideration what's happening around you, and then, playing your colour scheme so that it pairs back really well and again sits really well within your environment. So, and the other thing too is it's the style of your home. So depending on, what sort of style, if you've got a Hampton style home, we're going to do you a coastal colour scheme. So those sorts of things I take into consideration when building an exterior colour palette. And also too as well, things like your roof trim, not your roof trims, your window frames, the colour of your window frames, that's going to help to influence the facade colour. And also too, if we're working with bricks, what sort of tones are sitting with the bricks? Like what exists there? Are we going to be, if we're working with a red brick, we're going to then, what works really well is looking at colours that sit opposite on the colour wheel, for example. So you've got red, then you're looking at the opposite to red on a colour wheel is green. So then we'd start to look at colours, and we could still be working with whites, but whites that have more of, as I've referenced tonight, that neutral undertone, something that has more of a greeny sort of soft feel undertone. So it's working all of those things out. But if I were to think of a crisp white interior, I'm thinking perhaps I'd be creating a Hampton style home. So, I'd be looking at perhaps something like surf mist for your roof color, window color, garage door color. This is just an example. And then, you could inject, surf mist is a beautiful tone, pairs back really, really well with so many colors. If you're wanting something quite neutral, you could look at something like char gray, or there's a fantastic color if you were to be creating a coastal style theme, which is called Oyster Bar. Let me just hope I can find it here. Here we go. There's a color called Oyster Bar. So if I were to hold up, where are we? Surf mist up against that. You can see how fantastic they look together. Beautiful selection of colors. It's going to work really, really well for a coastal style home. And then, using your fantastic crisp white throughout the interior. It's just going to create a wonderful cohesive color scheme. I hope that helps. If there are any further questions, pop something into the feed. I'll be very, very happy to answer anything further that you do have. Okay, I'm just seeing whether we've got anything else. So, and I think I've just covered that as well. Another question that I did have was, what colors do you recommend for a coastal vibe? As I've said, if you're going to be looking to create a coastal vibe, you can draw inspiration from colors that exist within, look out, like Mother Nature never gets it wrong. Have a look at the colors that exist within, the landscape. So you're looking at the beautiful, I was recently up near Bellyheads, and the water, the color of the water on the weekend was just amazing. So beautiful deep sea greeny blue tones going into, almost that soft aqua, almost transparent, because the water was so crystal clear. But then there were some fantastic tones that were coming because there was quite a big hill, lots of greenery, which was influencing the color of the water, and it was creating almost a minty style green tone. So for me, I was looking at all the colors thinking, wow, you could really create a wonderful cohesive color scheme from the surrounds. And even like looking at the sand was quite white. It had a very soft sort of gray sort of undertone, very reminiscent of something like surf mist. So you can look at your surrounds and draw some inspiration from that. Anyhow, it looks like we have come to the end of our session this evening. So thank you very much, everybody, for all of your questions. It's always fantastic when we can help you with your color advice. We're going to be stop streaming, but we will be sitting behind the computer for a further half an hour or so. So if you do have any further questions, pop them into the feed. If you've got any images that you'd like to share with us because you'd like some advice, now will be the time to do so. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We're going to be, I'll be interstate next week, so there won't be any live color, but if you do have any questions around color, you can certainly pop them into the feed and we will do our very best to answer them sort of onwards in lieu of not being there next week. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic week. And as I always like to say, stay safe and happy painting. Thanks very much. Bye.